Dragon Age: The Veilguard is one of the worst video game releases of 2024. It was such a massive disappointment, especially in the eyes of a Dragon Age fan, but now time has completely shown their colors and the fact that they don't know good video games because they have named Veilguard as the best game of 2024. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, I play a lot of video games every single year, and there were a plethora of ones that were better than Veilguard, yet time is really sitting here saying that, oh, this deserves way more positive attention, which certainly is not the case. Dragon Age: The Veilguard was only ever nominated for one thing at the Game Awards, and while I do not think the Game Awards is like the pillar of the video game industry by any means, because the games that are nominated by shills and people in the industry, which is absurd to think about, but they only nominated it for one single category, and it certainly wasn't a Game of the Year. So now the 2024 Game Awards have come and gone, but the backlash stemming from several controversial snubs is far from over. The wildly popular Black Myth Wukong won the Player's Voice Award by a landslide, despite losing out on Game of the Year to the Sony exclusive Astrobot. I like Astrobot, do not get me wrong, but it was not on the same playing field as Wukong by any stretch of the means. Wukong was a 9 out of 10. Astrobot was an 8 out of 10. Astrobot was good. That's just my opinion. Take it with a grain of salt. You can have your own opinion. I loved Astrobot. Thought it was really fun. But Wukong was way better. And Stellar Blade also deserved to be on this list, at least in my opinion. But in a move that seemed like an obvious attempt to incite outrage, Time has released their 10 best video games of 2024 list, and it is terrible. So number 10 was Helldivers 2. Number 9 was Lego Horizon Adventures. If I want to play Horizon Zero Dawn, I'm not going to play the Lego version of it, okay? That is absurd. Number 8 was Star Wars Outlaws, a game I personally couldn't even finish because of a game-breaking bug in the main quest line. I couldn't even continue playing it. That does not deserve to be there. Black Myth Wukong was only 7, which is crazy. 6 was Alan Wake 2, The Night Springs in the Lake House, so a DLC. 5 was Neva, 4 was Silent Hill 2, 3 was Rebirth, 2 was Astrobot, and 1 was Veilguard. This is some wacky outrage bait, and it's so funny because a real gamer would sit here and laugh at them. So who is this article even for? Other industry shills? It reminds me of what Corinne Bush said a couple of weeks ago. She said, oh, they were happy that Dragon Age: The Veilguard was being critically positively received. Who gives a fuck what the critics have to say? You're not selling games to critics, you're selling games to gamers. Maybe her statement is the reason why this got bumped up to number 1, but if we're counting DLC, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree should be here, because Alan Wake 2's is here. Why isn't Erdtree's? That was completely snubbed. Stellar Blade, of course, is not here. Another game that is definitely in my top 10 was Princess Peach Showtime. That was a really fun, wholesome game that had a lot of variety when it came to the mechanics and the outfits and characters in the title, so that should be in the top 10. Get rid of Lego Horizons, get rid of Neva, get rid of Alan Wake 2 DLC, get rid of Veilguard, and put some real games on this list, but that's not the case for them. It is almost impossible to discern what Times was thinking when making these selections. There were 2 Alan Wake DLCs that shared the number 6 spot, which is also ridiculous that 2 DLCs counted in one spot. Of course, no inclusion of Shadow of the Erdtree. Alan Wake 2 is a title famously connected to DEI consulting firm Sweet Baby Inc., and as of right now has yet to make a profit, so they're saying this amazing game that didn't even make a profit deserved one of the 10 spots. These people don't play video games, and it's just so clear. I mean, it's why we constantly point and laugh at these activists, because at the end of the day, they're not even trying to pretend like they're actual gamers. And then, of course, the most egregious was the placement of the Veilguard at number 1. This title from BioWare, the latest entry in the Dragon Age franchise after a 10-year hiatus, has been mocked and ridiculed by players far and wide for its heavy-handed use of things such as pronouns, non-binary characters, top surgery scars, and amateur storytelling. I was disappointed from start to finish here. It was supposed to be a sequel, yet it kind of felt like a reboot. You had this wacky cast of Saints Row reboot-esque characters. You have modern-day terminology like transgender and non-binary. You had the top surgery scar toggles. You had the pronoun options. It was just filled to the brim with activism. And it's so sad because people have waited a decade for another Dragon Age game, yet this is the best they could give us. They actually said, first, hats off to what has been the most advanced character creation system ever brought to video games. That's such a blatant fucking lie. Black Desert Online came out over a decade ago, and it has a significantly better character customization system. Even Dragon's Dogma 2 from this year had a better one, and I was not the biggest fan of Dragon's Dogma 2. I still felt it was pretty good, but it could have been slightly better. Though, when you are simply talking about toggles, you have to have wacky toggles, and you do not have wacky toggles in this. It's fine if you want to make a monstrosity of a character, but I should also be able to create a character that looks like OG Lara Croft, Eve from Stellar Blade, Taki from Stellar Blade, Lily from Stellar Blade. I should be able to create a Yennefer. I should be able to create a gorgeous looking female character who has crazy body type. But that's not the case in this game. You can't do that. The females do not look feminine. And they're really only giving this game the number 1 spot because it checks off the diversity and inclusion boxes that they believe in. But of course, this is nothing new. Tons of access media outlets praise this game because of the far left agenda that it pushes. And of course, they're allowed to do that, but we're allowed to roast them brutally for doing that. And, well, again, while they can sit here and say it's a game of the year, clearly not a lot of people agree because basically nobody bought this game. I mean, 89,000 players is nothing to scoff at, but when you are talking about EA and BioWare, a legendary studio, you are talking about Dragon Age, an already existing established franchise, and you are talking about a decade's worth of work. Yeah, 89,000 looks pretty bad, and in game right now is only 9,157. And the 24-hour peak is only 12,292. So things are not looking good for the Veilguard. We haven't heard about the sales in totality when it comes to other platforms like Xbox and PlayStation, and maybe those numbers are really good, but we've only heard that it sold over 1 million copies, which was weeks ago, closer to release, and they haven't given us updated numbers. And typically when a game sells really good, developers boast about it, and they go into interviews just to talk about that, and they want to bring attention to their game and, of course, their achievements, because it really does help when they're looking at potential investors and they're going, oh, by the way, our last game sold 25 million copies, because then there's that level of trust, like, oh, wow, they know how to create a good game that is going to sell, and that's not happening with the Veilguard. So I will continue to keep my eye on the way that the media paints this game. They've been shilling for it even months before release, but now they've really ramped it up. And Time has named Veilguard as the best game of 2024, which is ridiculous. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.